All right, good afternoon, folks. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to the weekend. Saturday, October 25th, 2025 is the date. Look at that, 2525. 12:58 p.m. local time here in California. Latest activity here shows a 1.0 across the area of Southern California. Also some movement south here into the Baja California area. Got some larger, not large, but a little bit larger than what's happening up north. Looks like a 4-pointer showing up here right around the Gulf there of California up towards the land. Looks like it's the largest in that area. As far as further movement up north here, USGS does have a number of quakes above the 2.5 level. The majority of those out in the Nevada area, scattered out and about there across Nevada. A couple smaller earthquakes here on the Garlock Fault shear zone today, and also Southern California. I don't see anything big going on there for now. The seismograph stations down there look pretty quiet. Maybe a couple earthquakes on Parkfield and the Anza area, which is down here in Southern California. But we got this little one little quake here on the Brawley seismic zone. Just a little 1.7. Again, I don't see anything big stirring up across the area for now. There's the 3.2 from yesterday near Pinnacles. That is on the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault. Looks like maybe one more earthquake following that 3-pointer from yesterday. Got a 1.2 about 1 o'clock in the morning there for that area. Bay Area, pretty quiet. Sacramento Valley, quiet and dry. We got rain coming in, but we're underneath an extreme rain shadow out here where the mountains are getting wet and the valley, well, it's just skipping over us. Rain shadows, no good. Northern California here. Looks like one earthquake from this morning, a little 1.6 back here across the land. Cascadia tremor activity has been somewhat elevated here in this area. I'll show you guys the map from yesterday. Kicking up a little bit down here across the southern end. That's the extreme southern end here of the Cascadia, so I wouldn't doubt if we see further escalation of earthquake activity out there. The tremor counts here are a sign that the plate, the Juan de Fuca plate, or at least in this segment right here, is further being pushed underneath the region. Of course, that's how you get the tremors. It's not volcanic, just kind of a low frequency vibration noise that gets picked up as the two plates slowly slide past one another across the deeper areas. But of course, all that's doing is building up strain out there across the locked area. Notice that we've halted the activity up north, moved down south here as far as the slow slip events go. We'll check that out a little bit later on this evening and see what it looks like for today's counts. 2 earthquakes there from yesterday. It's a weekend. USGS, for the most part, won't be reporting anything of smaller magnitudes. It's got to be it's got to be a certain threshold there before they pop up on the map as far as the preliminary data goes. But it's a weekend. It's just the quakes tend to disappear off the map. They're just not reporting as many as they would if it was the weekday. Number of earthquakes out there across Mount Rainier. There's definitely a couple here overnight. This here, it looks like a lot of noise. There's a big storm coming into the Pacific Northwest. A lot of wind, a lot of rain throughout Washington and Oregon. Little bit here along the Northern California coastline and mountains, but we are going to see that stir up out there as far as environmental noise. But earthquake activity, yeah, there was definitely a couple. There's a well-defined one, local event. Nothing big from what I can see. Mount St. Helens, I'm sure will show some noise out there as well with all the wind stirring up from the low pressure that's moving over the area. And actually, yeah, keeping a good solid line here of data. Might be a little bit of noise out there, but there's some earthquake activity in the background as well. A couple of those smaller blue lines there indicating some earthquake activity. Again, nothing big. Also, Yellowstone over here. Man, seems like people share anything these days, and unfortunately, it gets out there on social media. And they, folks will tend to believe it, unfortunately. But I did see, I lost it somewhere, but it said there was some huge hydrothermal explosion today. I don't know if maybe they were thinking about that event from last year when it, remember there was a geyser eruption that damaged one of the boardwalks over here around Yellowstone. I think that was last year, maybe even further back, but it had today's date on it. A lot of people are believing it. Nothing's happening. I guarantee you, if it was happening, we would see it. We would know about it. You'd see park rangers all over the place. It just, social media world here, they need to get a handle on what's real and what is just, made up stories here. Living in a world of disinformation right now, but that's why I always like to show the official graphs here, the official data. If we were looking at, some type of hydrothermal explosion, for one, it would be on the USGS map here. Let me show seismograph station. There's no signs of an explosion out here. Something big would show up. Something like that would definitely show up as a large event on all the seismograph stations, but I don't see anything. A couple small earthquakes, but that's about it. But I felt like I was inclined to speak about it because it's an event, not an event, but it's an area that I cover quite often when it comes to Yellowstone National Park. It is a super volcano. Yes, they do have geyser eruptions, and Old Faithful erupts. I can't remember the amount of time, every 30 minutes or so. I can't remember. I was up there a couple years back, and it's pretty neat to see one time, but I'm not interested in going back up there. It's too heavily congested when it comes to traffic. But far as, an eruption like that, even if it's a small one, would show up on all the gas monitoring stations here across Yellowstone, and there's no signs of any of that. It's crazy. It's just like, this comet that's way out there, the interstellar comet that is supposed to not get close to Earth, but make a path through our solar system here. It's nothing more than a comet, but I was reading that another fake story that it decided to alter course and hide behind the sun. No, that's not happening. Just be cautious and careful where you get the information from out there. It's almost like the tabloids, right? Back in the 90s and early 2000s, you got the can't remember the name of it, but it's all jokes and for fun. Aliens landed in Hollywood and they met with some of the brightest stars, and it's just an entertainment thing, I think. But in this case, people, I think, are doing it for clicks and views and whatnot. But like I say, just be cautious where you get your info from out there. Yellowstone is absolutely quiet out there right now. A couple smaller earthquakes, but that's about it. Southern California, I say, definitely lighten up here. See the San Jacinto fault zone. San Jacinto, right? Or somebody actually commented the other day. It slipped my mind here last night. San Jacinto, is that right? Or Jacinto? San Jacinto? Which one is right? San Jacinto or San Jacinto? I mean, that's a J-A, so that would be kind of like a Y for yeah. Okay, anyway, let me know. If there's ever a time out here you see me pronouncing some different stuff, feel free to jump in. I don't mind being corrected. I honestly want to speak everything in perfect detail when it comes to the correct way to say it, right? We'll continue to watch that. All right, the rest of the country out here, pretty quiet, no doom and gloom. Man, it's just crazy. I'm about ready to take a break from social media for a little while. Crazy, the disinformation that's going on out there. All right, worldview. And I don't mean to make this an opinion type video, but I stick to the facts out here. I try to stick to legit information and not just fairy tale land. Earthquake activity. Wow, look at that. Super. Is that a new deep earthquake up there? Look at that, 5.2. Wow, that is a new one. Even deeper than the one that we seen here yesterday, and even deeper than the previous one. So look how many deep earthquakes we've had here just in the last couple days. Let me pull this up so you guys could see without including the Tokyo one over there. It started off with this one on the backside of the Nankai Trough, and the subduction zone you can see right here, right? This is subduction zone interface as the Filipino plate begins to subduct here underneath this region. It's all going underneath here. And this is capable of producing a megaquake. Well, this earthquake here struck 5 days ago for 5.1, 223 miles deep. And then just yesterday, we had a deeper one, 261 miles deep. Still within, underneath this area. This goes way down. The subduction zones here go super deep. And now we got even a further deep earthquake, a 5.2 at 350 miles deep. That's about as deep as they go out there. That's pretty crazy. So something brewing out under here. I do think we need to watch the subduction zones out here. Not really concerned about any megaquake on the Japan Trench because that last, happened in 2011. But it's possible we could see some, larger activity. Nothing up around the 9 period that they had back then. But also, the Nankai Trough here, I'm sure that is building up further strain there. Some shallow adjustment there on the Japan Trench and also just off the Nankai Trough here. But we do got to watch that area. I mean, when you look at 3 deep earthquakes out here, and they're getting deeper, it's a little hard to ignore that we need to watch the subduction zones. Let's see here. I want to look at something real quick, see what we got for historical large activity. It's definitely a zone that has some deeper movement below 300 kilometers. And this one is 300 and something miles, right? Go back here and see that. Oh, no, that's 561 kilometers deep. That's 300 and 300 and what is it? 349 miles. There we go. Let's go back to where I was at here. Because this is definitely a land of deep earthquake activity underneath the region. All along the Izu Trench as well. It's weird it's got that straight line up here. It follows a pattern northward, which doesn't match, the map out here, the topography of the map, the land. It's not supposed to go like that. Why would it go just straight? See that? Shoop. But then again, you got all this deeper activity with the Kuro-Kamchatka Trench. Japan Trench may have a say in some of the deeper activity as well. But this Nankai Trough zone, man, it's going to be this area right here. Look at that line of activity. That's just crazy. Huh. Alrighty, well, we'll keep an eye on this area. Like I say, that's a lot of deep earthquake activity here in the last few days around that region. Something bigger brewing out here. Man. Let's see. One earthquake way down south here. Well off the coast of Australia. That's a 5.4. And one of the fracture boundaries out there. Excuse me. Change in weather, change in voice adjustment. Yeah, that's out there in the little oceanic fracture boundary. And I'm sure they've gotten a lot of earthquake activity out there. It happens quite a bit out there in those zones. It's just been a little while, but as you can see historically, there's been quite a bit of documented earthquake activity out there. Java Trench pretty active still today. It's been a hot spot of earthquake activity up and down, roughly around this region. 2.7 coming in now. It looks like a lot of adjustment taking place out here. This is a big producer in producing megaquakes. I'm wondering when the last. I know we had that big one back in 2004. A super big one. I want to look here and see when our last decent. Talking about decent size earthquake struck out there. We can just go back. We'll go back all the way. I want to check out this area. Java Trench region. Remember that 2000? I think it was 2004, 2006. But I'm kind of curious to see. when our last big earthquake was out here, because when it's that active along a major subduction zone, that's maybe not a good sign out there. So 2003, 7.1. That was deep, 500 kilometers deep there. 7.1 up off the coast of Sumatra, 2003. Yeah, quite a few sevens, but that's one thing we haven't had here in 2005 yet around this area. 2025. Imagine going back 20 years. Okay, I would be okay with that, right? 2005, relive 2005 over again. All right. But yeah, it seems like we may be expecting at least a 7-pointer out here. If you look, the 7-pointers occur every other year or so. Just looking back here at the data, and our last one was 2023. We're at 2025, so it's quite probable we could see a decent event out here. Now, the largest magnitude, 2004, that's right, the Sumatra. Big, huge tsunami produced with that one as well. 2004. But what about this area, right? Look where that subduction zone is. This is a major builder of stress. So let's see what we got here historically. 1977 was the 8.3. Down here, 7.8, 1994. 1921 for a 7.6. Oh, man, 1926 for a 7.1. 1943. You know, one thing all this area has in common is a lot of time has passed out here for big earthquake activity. So that may be a sign we want to watch that region. We did this with the Kamchatka Trench, looking at last time we had big earthquake activity. And it took a while for that big event to happen between the time I was really spotting this. It took about a year. If you go back to my videos last year, we were really watching this area of the Kamchatka Trench just because of the amount of time that's passed, the eerily quietness, and then, of course, all of a sudden, back in July, it kicked up with some big events, and I knew it wasn't over. 10 days later, we had an 8.8 in that region. It was definitely overdue, and I'm starting to get that same reading here for this area, just because of the amount of time that has passed across this area of the subduction zone. This is 1903 for a 7.3. There's 2009 7-pointer. But remember, these little 7-pointers really don't relieve all the stress that's been building up out here. So watch this region right here, folks. And as I showed you guys here on the map, it is pretty active out here, all up and down this region. 3.1, another quake coming into this area of the eastern side here of the Java Trench. Just keep a close eye on that. A lot going on here. You know, this is the last 24 hours, and we got some big, broad uptick going on out here. Nothing going on across New Zealand for now. Some earthquake activity around Vanuatu northward. Alaska, look at these 3 quakes up here as well. Kamchatka, the Aleutian Trench, and Beaufort Sea way up there from last night. Let's see. It was an odd earthquake way up north. Just, we don't see a whole lot of activity up there. Historically, looking at it, bring up the key real quick, 1900 to 2015. Well, there it is. It's, you know, it's kind of rare to see an event up there way away from the plate boundary. Looks like there's only 2 documented, maybe 3 right here if you count this little bitty one. You have to zoom in to see maybe some of these smaller ones. But that's very light earthquake activity in terms of, you know, the normal movement that you see along any plate boundary. So it's a little odd to see that quake of that magnitude way up north. When you get all these stress quakes away from the major plate boundaries, that's a sign there that you got some extreme stress out there across the region. And in this case, you know, we're seeing all this deep activity all over the western area of the Pacific Plate. Alaska up here, Aleutian Trench has been active as well. Quite a bit of movement stirring up through Anchorage up towards Fairbanks. Quite a few. Is that another quake on the San Andreas Fault right there? Yep. The latest one, a 1.4. Nothing big, right? It does happen all the time. In fact, if you look at the last 30 days or so, we've got just in this area alone 1,121 earthquakes. That's a good number, but nothing unprecedented. A lot of activity above the 2.5 level, though. This is probably a little bit more than normal for a 30-day period. 24 earthquakes there above that level. San Andreas Fault holding on, but it's like just I don't know how many threads left. I don't know how many more fine threads are left in that plate tectonic glue that is out here, just kind of speaking in terms like that. But it's getting, I think we're getting close here, folks. Got to be prepared. The West Coast is just, it's not good. So yeah, it's possible. I mean, we're already seeing some smaller quakes stir up north here, but that 4-pointer down there across Baja California area, that's the second one here in the last couple days. So movement definitely starting to stir up there across California northward. Middle America Trench got quite a few 2s and 3s out there, some 4s it looks like as well, and a bunch of movement out here across the this is going to be the Antarctica and the Nazca plate boundary. Looks like it's in the triple point boundaries of both areas here. So these are fracture boundaries, and 5.2 and a 4.9 recent, fairly recent this morning, should escalate activity northward here along the Pruchilli Trench. That's where we see most of the general stress transfer to most of the time. If we look here, look at the Nazca plate, kind of pushes there towards the Pruchilli Trench when we get activity out here. But also at the same time, it could go either way. But from what I can see, the Pruchilli Trench should see some elevated activity following these two events this morning. It looks like maybe one newer event there. Atlantic Ocean, wow. Nothing going on out there. Absolutely quiet. Mediterranean, pretty active as well. Looks like around Italy. Is that around the Campi Flegrei fields? I start seeing a bunch of 4s, and that's going to be a time to just really watch out. Let's see here. We'll go check it out real quick, see what's going on. A lot of activity ramping up out here. Oh, hello. Are we working? Yes, we are. Some activity outside of Naples there. You got that Campi Flegrei field, volcanic field. I believe that's where a 4-pointer struck. 4.3, but that's well inland. That's away from that region. Yeah, that's a recent quake, but it struck a ways away from that area. I'm sure there's some other potential volcanic activity over there, but around this region here, just a bunch of 1s, and it looks like it's just a couple 1s or so every other day. I don't see anything of any major uptick there across that area for now. Just kind of watching things, seeing how everything plays out. Let's see. Man, just a cluster of earthquakes out here, man. Watch the Java Trench, but also at the same time, we've got to watch the Philippines, all up around the Japan area, Taiwan. You could see a big earthquake activity there anytime. Again. Man, look at that. It just looks overly active. In California, is uptick, a little bit of uptick going on, but it's got the least amount of earthquake activity out here when it comes to the larger magnitudes. And that is what is concerning here. So eventually that will have to fill in. Just because somebody who, just because I live out here doesn't mean we're going to not see earthquake activity. It doesn't matter who's out here. Eventually this plate has to come to terms and adjust. It's got to account for all the strain that's been happening out here. All right, Hawaii real quick, see if there's anything else stirring up there. Doesn't look like it. A couple smaller earthquakes, one up around the Kilauea volcano, 1.7. So we'll go over and double check that real quick, see what we have for the Kilauea volcano. All right, so it looks like we'll be waiting on episode 36 here coming up in a number of days, unless something drastic changes in terms of the inflation that's going on there underneath the area. Not quite there. We got a ways to go before we get to the inflation level to produce another eruption. Here's our current leading up to episode 36 here in a number of days. Nothing changing, though, that I could see. Pretty mellow out on the sun right now. Got B5.7. That's way down there in the boring category. 10% chance for X flare, or 10% chance for M flare. Excuse me, X flare at 1%. One interesting note here on the sun is that we do have a couple different coronal holes here that are turning into a more Earth-directed view. Watch that. Last couple times here, we had a pretty big uptick in earthquake activity when those were facing the planet. Here's a little bit older image from last night, but it's much closer over here. Well, let's see, 1025. No, it looks like this is updated. 1504. Let's see here. Well, it's behind about 5 hours because this is UTC time, so technically these are just a little bit more into the center disk there of the sun. But we'll watch for that, see if things don't get active again. I mean, they're already active, but could get worse. Little earthquake on Russia right now. As you can see there on the chart, nothing big. No major auroras there in the forecast for now. Pretty quiet across the board. There's just not a whole lot happening here on the sun. No major solar flares. At least not anything Earth-directed. Let's see. Next close approach asteroids here to the planet will show us that we have we got a couple newly discovered ones out there. In fact, all of them look like they're newly discovered, aside from that one. It's 120-foot airplane-sized asteroid, but that's over 3 million miles. Closest one today, it looks like 366,000 miles, but that's pretty safe. 33-foot bus-size asteroid. Storm Prediction Center here for severe weather. Got an interesting little area up here off the Oregon coast, or along the Oregon coast here for some tornado activity. Might see some water spouts out there associated with that strong low-pressure system moving in today. Some activity down across the southern coast there of Texas and Louisiana. Got a 5% chance here for some tornado activity. A little bit of wind and some hail threats down there in Texas as well. Pretty decent low pressure out there. I'm going to show you guys real quick. I had it up here, but it looks like it disappeared. Let's see here. I wanted to show you guys this beautiful view of it. Massive low pressure up here. A lot of cold air spinning up some storms up there across the Oregon coast. We're getting the tail end. You can see the jet stream right there is really strong. This is the upper level jets really amplifying this area, but the way that this is coming in from west to east like that just creates a massive rain shadow all across the area, heading south into Sacramento, San Joaquin Valley as well. This is not favorable for precipitation in the valley. Up in the mountains and the higher elevation, there might be some snow and some better rainfall. But yeah, this is kind of a bummer. Disappointed that we didn't get more precipitation. We only got a couple sprinkles last night, and that was it. Oregon and Washington definitely getting some decent precipitation up there, but that's a beauty of a storm system. All right, another earthquake there on Anza in Southern California. Just keep an eye on things here today, folks. We got a lot of super deep earthquake activity happening out here, and a decent amount of uptick going on here in the last 24 hours as well. So, bunch of movement. 2.9 west coast of Australia. Looks like it's on that little fracture boundary out there. You don't see a whole lot of activity out there, but it does happen on occasion. Another 3.1 across the Indonesia area. Watch that area closely. The Java Trench in California. Just, I don't want it to move, because when it does, it's going to be big. But it has to. It needs to accommodate all the general movement that's been happening out here. These little, even if we had a bunch of 3s and 4s, that would not do anything in terms of relieving the strain that's built up out here. I don't know how many 4-pointers it would take to be the equivalent of a 7.9 or an 8.1 earthquake. Quite a bit. Quite a bit. Just for fun, let me double check that. Let's see here. How many 4.0 earthquakes would it take to be the equivalent of an 8.0? Gotta love voice to text. Oh wow! So you guys want to know? This is pretty crazy. So according to the Google overview here, it would take approximately 1 million 4.0 magnitude earthquakes to equal the energy of a single 8.0. I didn't know it was going to be that high, but wow. Crazy. Yeah, so wow. Anyway, folks, just be on guard, stay prepared, be safe. We'll catch you guys out here for the Saturday night update. If you're just kind of hanging out around the house today, maybe bored, don't know what to do, or maybe you have stuff to do. Either way, make sure you download that MyShake early alert notification system. It's for your phone. It's free. It will help you definitely if you're around a big area of earthquake potential. It saves me. I mean, it gave me like 20 seconds here in Northern California back when that 7-pointer struck offshore in December of last year. I live here in Chico, or outside of Chico, and 20 seconds from the time that the earthquake notification system went off, told me to expect shaking. 20 seconds, pretty decent. Of course, as you're closer to the earthquake, you may only have 1 second, and then boom. But either way, any alert, early alert, is a good thing, I think, when it comes to being prepared for a large event out here. And it's coming, folks. It's definitely coming. All right, have a good one. We'll catch you guys out here a little bit later on this evening, folks. Enjoy your Saturday. Take care.